You've experienced a loss, you're struggling to move on, but everyone else seems to have moved on. The world didn't stop, the world keeps moving, friends have moved on, and you're wondering, how could people be that cruel? Don't they see that I've lost someone? Stay tuned, you're talking to Auntie L. So loss is a part of life. So as they say, death is a part of living. These are the things that remind us that we are human. They are the things that keep us grounded and remind us of our shared humanity. However, in the process of grieving, let's say you've lost someone really close and you're grieving, you might experience a range of things. And I'll give a real life example from something that I went through myself. So one of the things I noticed is that we all don't grieve the same way. So what happened? So I'll give an example. So we lost a very, very close friend, very dear friend to me actually. I was one of the first people who discovered them, when they died in their house, they died in their house. And for me, the way I operate is I go into task mode. So there was, things to be done. I'm standing in front of a corpse. What do I do? Call 911, call the police. I just went into task mode. Called other friends, you guys come around, this is what I saw, So went into task mode like that, and others came in and, people were rolling on the floor, crying and all of that, but I just couldn't cry. I think something in me just shielded me from the emotions, and I was just, dealing with the practical. So whilst they were processing the body, doing everything, I was thinking, okay, fine, we've got to secure this place, we've got to contact its next of kin, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. That was just my mood in that day. And I remember someone that's a mutual friend, so one of the ladies, she said, why, I remember, so doing the task, I went to their kitchen, and made myself a cup of tea, and I remember one of the ladies said, what's wrong with you? You're not even crying, you're drinking tea. That's what someone told me, but I didn't have any tears. Like, I almost felt bad for not crying in that instant, but I didn't have any tears. I was just practical. This is what we need to do, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. That was the way I reacted on that day. However, it was overnight. I didn't even have a proper sleep because I was scared anyway, and we didn't stay there, we went somewhere else to stay. But overnight, waking up, and I think that's when the reality hit me. And when the tears came, when the crying came, they sounded like it was coming from someone else. It wasn't even, I didn't know that it was me crying, let's put it that way. But that's an example of, in the instant, people might not react the same way. And it would take understanding not to judge someone else to say, gosh, why is this person not crying? Did they want this person dead? It would take understanding and not to judge others. And another thing that I then noticed was life did not stop. You're now enveloped in this grief, and everyone else is doing their own thing. People are going to work. So one of the people that came on that day, I remember he was on his way to a party when he was called to say, hey, come here, this has happened. And he sat down. In fairness to him, he stayed with people who stayed, and after everything, when everyone was leaving, now they had moved the body out of the house and we were all leaving, locking down the place. And he said, oh, okay, I'll see you later, I'm going for my party. And I remember thinking, like, how dare you? So you see, someone else is judging me for not crying. I'm judging someone else who is going to a party. Like, how dare you? Someone's just died, and you're going to the party? Because I expected him to go back home. Don't go to the party. But I didn't say anything because, of course, I didn't even cry. So I didn't say anything. But I remember feeling, you can still go to a party. Anyway, that's it. So the point I'm trying to make here is that life will not stop. It might stop for a minute for yourself, who is like very, very closely involved in the process. Maybe someone really, really close to you, a spouse, a child, whatever. But the others do carry on. The next day, I remember the next day, life was busy, kids going to school, and I'm just thinking, can you not just stop for a second and let's acknowledge that something has happened? But no, life keeps on going, and it doesn't seem fair at the time, but it is just what it is. So I then look at my life now and go, whilst I'm running around doing my shopping, doing everything, there's someone in that shop next to me or on the road who has just lost someone, and I'm there, doing my stuff, and worrying about the little things. So that's how life is, so just it takes maturity to kind of in that moment think about the fact that these people might not be as closely hit as I was, so they have a right to do what they need to do. Another thing I found that was strange was there were things that made me laugh. Like you're thinking, okay, I've just experienced this heavy loss. Why do I find anything at all funny? Why do I even smile at something, a joke? Because you would still stumble upon something, a child will still make you smile or laugh. And in that instance, sometimes I felt guilty for laughing. Like, you call yourself back to order and go, oh gosh, I shouldn't be laughing. But it is what it is, in that instance, whilst you're going through that moment of crying, it's all mixed. It's funny. Life is funny. There are tears, there are laughter, all in the same occasion, all at the same time. And it's crazy. But yeah, it did feel strange to find anything funny at all, to find anything to smile or laugh about. But again, that happens and that's normal, that's usual. You find that what I experienced as well, that it then became a personal. So initially, we were mourning as a group, we were grieving as a group, and as the days went ahead, as time went on, it became a personal journey. So everyone started going through it in their own way. It would seem to you at that point that you're the only one grieving. You feel like you're the only one grieving, that people have moved on. But no, it's a personal journey. People still stop and acknowledge, but in their own time. What just happens is that they talk about it less, amongst the group. And you get to the point where it would just be memories of the person whilst they're alive, but people are still grieving. At that point, it seems like you're the only one in the world grieving, this person, let's say a family member, and it would feel like everybody else have moved on. People would go back to social media and post their jokes and their comments and things like that, but everyone has their moments, and it becomes a really personal journey, and everyone would be at different stages. But I think eventually we all get to the same destination where you heal and it becomes the new normal, and the memories remain. So again, just be conscious of that, that the fact that someone is not talking about it every day, the fact that you're no longer gathering as groups to talk about this thing, does not mean that everyone else has forgotten. It just becomes personal. So that's the point of the message today. Don't create unnecessary enemies, because I think if we were not careful at that time, we would have had enemies. Because I there were things that happened then, and at the time I just felt, why? For example, there was something. So my friend, not on that day, but we came back, to have meetings to plan his funeral, and we needed to repatriate his body back to, where he came from, his country, and all of that. And in those meetings, his friends, guys, they're like, oh, he has all this wine saved, let's drink it. And that, in that moment, it might feel like, but then when you think about it, the person was gone. He was never going to drink those bottles of drink, and it would have been our, problem trying to figure out where to pack those things to anyway. So, his guys were like, oh, okay, fine, we're here, bring that drink, all the drinks he had hidden and all his special bottles and all of that. And they used that to entertain themselves, which, looking back, yeah, that was okay. But I think in that time, I just felt like, oh, yeah, his body's still warm and weird, but, those things don't matter. There's no need to create unnecessary enemies. People process these things differently. Some people have experienced death a few times. Some people have experienced loss a few times. So those people might seem more not lackadaisical, but they might not take it as heavily as you who's experiencing it for the first time. Those people are at a point where they accept that it's normal, so they really just treated it as normal. They made jokes about him. They were still talking about him and laughing about, and that was just, looking back, I think that was good. That was the way his friends were processing the fact that their friend just died suddenly, and they were very, very easy with it, which at the time seemed strange, but looking back, I think that's the way to do it. Actually, there's nothing else. The person will not come back, no matter how sober or somber you make it. The person's not going to come back. So yeah, don't make it awkward for anybody else. It's a time to be kind to each other and to understand that people are different. and we do things differently. So yeah, that's the message for today. If you're experiencing any sort of loss, grieving a close family friend, whoever, just take it easy on yourself, be kind to yourself, and be kind to others as well. Thank you.